I think it is an incredible maturation of a player is what we're witnessing. And I think it's why this breakout that he has had feels legitimate and not like a flash in the pan. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. A little later in the week, apologize for that. The Monday off days kind of throw off the schedule a little bit, and recording after one game on a Tuesday, I don't really have enough to go off of, frankly, because we have the Sunday live show. So was going to bump it to later in the week. Last night's game, though, the Wednesday night game went long, went into extras, went late. I got to, get up early and go to work the next morning, and I didn't want to give you all a sleepy episode or a quick one trying to get out of here to go to bed. I wanted to be able to give you guys a full audit of this series. Plan to go live for this, and then the game was delayed an hour and a half for weather that never really came. It was odd, but because of that delay, then it would have pushed things back to 6:37, dinner, kids, bedtime. I needed to wait a little bit, so you guys are seeing this on Friday mornings. This will not be the norm as we go forward, just the way that it kind of fell this week. But you'll hear from us this weekend with the Houston series, and then going forward, it'll be a relatively normal schedule once again. So apologize for getting this to you guys later in the week. I hope that it is worth your while as we get going. This show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible. Here at Kansas City Sports Network, we can't thank them enough for their support over the last 5 years. And we appreciate your guys' support as well. Subscribing, liking videos, commenting, leaving 5-star reviews. Those are super helpful. Helps grow this channel, helps more people see this content as we move forward. So all of that is greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into the series against the Texas Rangers. The Royals lose 2 of 3. They won on Tuesday and then lose the next 2 Wednesday in extra innings. So let's just go ahead and get right into this series, and we'll get into the win on Tuesday where they win 5-3. A little bit of an inauspicious start just because Stephen Kolek he didn't have his great stuff in that game, at least early. There was just, you could tell he was having a hard time landing his breaking ball, and then when he did, it was kind of in the middle. Scattered 8 hits in 5 innings. Got out of it only giving up 2. I believe he had the bases loaded with nobody out in the second inning of that game, and he gave up 1 and then gets a ground ball to Michael, fires home, gets the lead runner, and then the next batter, double play ball, 5-4-3 around the horn, only gives up the 1, and you feel pretty good about it. Give us up another run in the 4th. I believe that one was on a home run. It was the throwing error. I don't know why I was thinking it was a home run. I was thinking of a different batter. My apologies. That was the one that was kind of comedy of errors. Like Kolek overthrows the batter with 2 outs, or the runner trying to pick him off, and then Carter throws down the third. It hits the tip of Michael's glove, and the run scores. So bit of a kind of a comedy of errors in that spot. Not ideal, but then the scoring started for Kansas City. You're down 2-0 in the 5th. Native Aldi's dealing. He hasn't given up a hit into that 5th inning. One of the only base runners he had given up to that point was Jac Caglianone. Well, I'm going to talk about him more in depth later in the show, so I'll just hit on this point now. He worked an 11-pitch at bat, works a walk. It was great to see him do that. And then Eovaldi hung him a curveball and crushed it. Shutout gone, no hitter gone. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And it was a great swing. It was great to see, just a result of good process, seeing the amount of pitches that he did, getting a feel for the cutter, the curveball, the split, all of it, and saw a curveball up and didn't miss it. And then the 6th inning, the Royals just completely got to Eovaldi in that inning entirely. Everything was hit hard. Felt like the culmination of some good at-bats here and there, and they found a way. Starts with a Carter double. Bobby grounds out, but he hits it to the right side to move the runner over. Michael triples on a fly ball to right center that just hit off the wall just missed a home run by a couple of feet. It was at the 405 there in deep right center. And then Vinny doubles the ground rule double right over Evan Carter's head. And then that's it for Nate Eovaldi after getting Salvador Perez out. They bring in the lefty to face Jac Caglianone. Now, he has swung the bat well, and with it being only the sixth inning, I did not expect this to be a pinch hit situation. Wanted to see what he could do. They bring in Jalen Beeks, and first pitch, it's a changeup, and it hung up in the zone, right in his nitro zone, up and in that part of the strike zone. And he hits it even further and hits it into the fountains. And this is the start of a week or a series where he hit lefties really well. And again, we're going to talk more about that later, but another notch in the belt of doesn't have to platoon as often anymore, or if at all, at least with the way he's swinging the bat right now. Massey doubles, and that's basically the inning, but you end up getting 4 there, and now it's 5-2. Daniel Lynch gives up a run in the 7th. Probably shouldn't have. It was a bit of a rough play by Jack in right field. He kind of tripped over his feet, and not necessarily a great situation there. But again, at that point, it's 5-3, and you move forward. 7th inning was a huge moment for the team moving forward. Kyle Isbell slashes the ball down the left field line like he does with 2 strikes, and he comes up around first base, maybe looking to dig for 2, and he stops, and he hobbles back to first base and dives in, and he couldn't get up. Throw got away. In any other situation, he probably has an opportunity, but he can't run. And he's hobbling, he's limping off with the trainer. Kind of wondering, okay, it's a hot, humid night. Maybe it's a cramp. Maybe it's a hamstring. Either way, maybe, that's not what you want to see. You're just hoping that it, maybe he just cramped up on a humid night. Find out the next day that it's our plantar fasciitis or injury. It's we learned today on Thursday it was a grade 3 tear of the plantar fascia in his left foot. Now, they don't have a true timeline on this yet. They'll know more as they get more imaging. They get a little more time passes, and they're able to assess it a little bit better. The quick little bit of research that I did on plantar fascia injuries and plantar fasciitis is generally it's a 6 to 12 week injury for more normal injuries, but being a grade 3 severe tear to the plantar fascia, I'd imagine it's on the upper bound of that timeline and maybe even more. Not obviously going to speculate. That's just what the online journals and the studies told me. But 12 weeks is 3 months, and you've got about 3.5 months left of the baseball season. So this very well could be the end of Kyle Isbell's season. I hope it's not. I hope that he's able to recover quickly and go. Q said it's the foot thing has been something he's been dealing with for a little bit, and it just kind of reached ahead and ends up being a significant injury. As I talked about the other day, guys are going through stuff all the time. Like, we're 70 games into this. Like, nobody's healthy, almost hardly at all. Everyone's dealing with something. Like, Bobby's got the knee, Vinny had the back earlier, Michael's got the hamstring. Everyone's got a little something, whether you know it or not. And this was something that Kyle Isbell had been dealing with, and ultimately he ends up getting seriously injured and now is going to miss a significant amount of time. Cameron Meisner came up. We'll talk about him a little bit when we get to the Wednesday game, but that's a brutal blow. He's been great for this team defensively, and this has been one of his more consistent, productive offensive seasons. Over the last 2 years, he has provided the role and embraced the role of being the 9-hitter, of trying to turn the lineup over, laying bunts down, being a selfless teammate at the plate. And he had been really consistent and a solid hitter for this team this year. And now they're going to lose that, and we'll see what a platoon of Meisner and Thomas looks like in center field as we move forward. Clean 8th for Daniel Lynch and John Schreiber, and then Alex Lang gets 2 strikeouts to end the game in the 9th inning, his 4th save in 4 opportunities to that point. Little wild at the beginning, and I think he threw 6 consecutive balls, and then of his next 13 pitches, it was 10 strikes. So he was able to settle back in and he got 2 strikeouts when he needed it. And especially Jock Peterson, where it was changeup, and he got him. It was awesome. And again, a huge win for the team as they kind of were able to carry some of that momentum over from the Minnesota series. Now, obviously, it ended there because then they lose the next 2. And Wednesday's game was obviously bizarre. I mean, it was a back and forth game, kind of crazy in a lot of ways. Both teams left a lot of runners on base, but it turned into a de facto bullpen game for the Royals because of Seth Lugo getting hit with a line drive off the bat of Brandon Nimmo. 107 miles an hour, he took it right off the forehead. Scary, obviously, anytime you see a ball get up near a pitcher's head, it's pretty scary. We've seen it a number of years ago when Eric Hosmer hit a ball off the side of Alex Cobb's head. That was really scary. Remember spring training a number of years ago, Salvador Perez hit one off of Aroldis Chapman. Chris Bassett took one a couple of years ago. It's not like it's necessarily uncommon, but it's still scary every time you see it. And Nimmo was shocked the second he hit it, gets to first base, touches first, calls time, and runs over to his former teammate and was like, hey, are you all right? And Lugo, I'm sure, hopped up on adrenaline, turned up to 12, just stood right up. He had a big old welt on his head that was there immediately. I was like, hey, I'm good. I'm all right. He joked with Nimmo after, pull it next time so you don't hit me. Like, being able to make jokes after you just get hit in the head with a 107 mile an hour line out, like that's something. But that was in the 4th inning, and he had been pitching really well to that point. And it turned it into a bullpen game for the Royals. And also, as we know a little bit more now, all the CT scans came back clean. Seems as though he's cleared protocol. We didn't hear anything that said he didn't. So, excuse me. Good sign there. We'll know more if he makes his next start, over the next couple of days. I don't know how they're going to handle a situation like this because if he passed protocol and he feels good to pitch, then I imagined he will. Maybe they give him another day. We'll see how they handle it. But glad to see that he is okay and he didn't have to spend a night in the hospital, didn't have any more serious injuries besides just a big old welt on his forehead. Really, I mean, that's all you can ask for in that situation. But then they had to go to Mason Black just because he's the multi-inning guy. Just, hey, save us a little bit. He can only give them an inning in 2/3. He gets through the 4th and the 5th. He gives up 2 runs. But I think he had gotten to 40 pitches and he had thrown 2 days previously and gotten up around 20 pitches or so. So workload-wise, wasn't able to give them more. And so it turned into Johnny Holstaff from there. Steven Cruz, Matt Strom gives up a home run. And then Ursig, they gave him the 8th inning. I think it was the 8th inning. And it's been the Ursig that we've seen for the better part of the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The command is just not there. He walked 2 guys. One of them could have been overturned if the Royals didn't weren't out of challenges. He got a strikeout, which was good, but still, I don't know what to make of it anymore. Like even moving him out of the closing role, it's a tie game, late. You're hoping you're in tie game, 1-run game late. You're hoping that he's going to be able to hold on, and he can't even do that right now. Daniel Lynch had to come in and saves him. Ultimately, doesn't give up burn in 2/3. Shriver clean 9th. Alex Lang had a tough one. Pitching back-to-back days. I think he threw 40-something pitches. 32 after throwing 13 the day before and pitching on Friday and Saturday as well. Or was it? No, it was Friday and Saturday or Thursday and Saturday. Regardless, you guys know what I mean. And he didn't have great command. It's one of those where if he's on, it's fine. But when he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. And it was very clear early he did not. He gives up the 1 run. I think Elias Diaz got him, which is kind of funny. Like he and Nicky Lopez just revenge tour all series long. But I've talked about before, I don't were like that. I just assume that run is going to score. So I already kind of bake in, you're going to go down one and then you have second maneuver advantage. But then the second run scores on a bases loaded walk. And that was the part that was really tough. Like, you just can't have that in that situation. You got to get one in the zone. Even if he hits it, you're just hoping that he hits it right to Bobby and you get a double play to get out of the inning. But he spiked the changeup and it was ball 4. Then it's a 2-run game. You end up getting into the 10th. You have bases loaded with 1 out, or bases loaded with nobody out. Isaac Collins strikes out looking, and then Tyler Tolbert. Let's get to this. So Lane Thomas gets hit on the arm. Trainer comes out, and he leaves. There's no injury designation. It wasn't like he left the game. So they pinch run Tyler Tolbert, but he left with the trainer. So I don't know if it was Tolbert was going to run for him no matter what, or if it was, hey, need to go get this checked out, even with the elbow guard. It kind of caught him a little higher, needs to check it out. I don't know what the situation was. Regardless, Tyler Tolbert comes in. And we know when Tyler Tolbert comes in the game, he is going to try and steal. Like, it's the hardest bag to steal in baseball, where everyone knows you're going to run and you still got to take it. He takes off to run and gets thrown out. Or actually, let me rephrase. He steals the bag, called safe. The Rangers had lost their challenge earlier in the game and then requested a crew chief challenge. It was awarded to them because it was 7th inning or later. And they spend the better part of 5+ minutes looking at every angle. And there is a moment where it looks like he maybe pops up off the bag by, 1/16 of an inch. And tags on there, but they showed 4 or 5 angles, and I'm not trying to look at this through Royals colored glasses, right? Royal blue colored glasses. I didn't see any indisputable, conclusive video evidence that Tyler Tolbert came off the bag and that he was safe. They end up overturning the call, and he's out, which then led to people in an uproar on social about him getting thrown. I know he's not good at stealing bases, which then devolved into some stuff, whatever. People moving goalposts about it. Now, these two things are true. Tyler Tolbert is a good base stealer. He's 26 of 30 in his big league career. That's 87%. Big league average is around 79 to 80%. So he's above league average. There have been a couple of times where it has been the legislation of millimeters for him stealing a base, where he slides and his legs are on the bag, but he pops up by that little bit, which I don't believe. I believe replay is good. I think it is helpful. I do not think that is the spirit of replay to change those types of calls. I think that's more of a sport-wide thing, how I view replay. Like, I don't think that is in the spirit of it. Different conversation for another day. Then that led to people saying, well, he can't hit. He's not, he doesn't deserve a role, doesn't deserve a role in the team. He can't do anything, yada, yada. Okay. Well, then he comes up later in the game. In the 10th inning, bases loaded, 1 out. Bobby Wood Jr. on deck. Only thing you really can't do is hit a ball right at somebody for a double play. Sure enough, he hits a 2-hopper to the third baseman guarding the line. Steps on third, steps on first, game over. Yeah, bases loaded, nobody out, down 2, and you get nothing. If you want to argue about Tyler Tolbert's role on the team based on his ability to actually do baseball-y things besides steal, I'll listen to that. Like, those two things to me are separate. I'm not going to sit here and kowtow for Tyler Tolbert's a big leaguer. He should absolutely be on this team and he does all these great things. No, just like he's a good runner. And that's something that they value. He can play a bunch of different positions and he can run the bases. They've done it. They did it with Dairon Blanco in 24. No one batted an eye. And he wasn't necessarily the best hitter on the planet either. He had the one awesome game in Cincinnati. Other than that, he was okay. Not anything special. And now they kind of have a little more of a souped up version of that because he can play the outfield, he can play the infield, he can do all of that. But the guy's not a very good hitter. And for him to come up in that situation, it was not great. I don't think they were going to go to, I know, like, and even lefty or not, I don't think they were going to go to Jensen or Massey in that situation because that would have been the center fielder. I know Meisner had come in for Caglianone, so Meisner could have moved to center, but then you're dealing with a Michael Massey or a Nick Lofton in right field in a tie game, just if you call it that. Like, if you make that move, you have to win the game because then you're playing with even more sketchy defense out there. And I think that's kind of the way that they looked at it. They're like, hey, Tyler's fast. Even if he hits a ball on the ground, he's probably not going to get into a double play. He hit it to the right person. Tough situation, tough game overall for him, getting caught stealing and then grounding into a double play to end the game. But it is what it is. And now they got to go and figure out, because he's going to be in line against lefties, at least once, every once in a while. They're going to still have him steal bases. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, I'll leave up to you. But I'm not going to lose my mind over it. I'm also not going to sit here and say, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm kind of indifferent on it, especially with the way that where the team is at right now. It is what it is. Cags did have 4 hits in this game against left-handed pitching. Talk more about that here in a little bit. I've gone 20 minutes here. Need to take a break. We will be right back after this, and we'll talk about Game 3.
The attorneys at Northland Injury Law have been serving the Kansas City area for 40-plus years, helping people with serious injuries, car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. And we don't get paid unless we get money for you. If you have a case, call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878 now.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
You know that moment, the moment you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too. But then I found Shady Rays and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. They have sunglasses for golfing, fishing, hiking, and biking, even sunglasses for kids. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use code KCSN for 40% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Okay. Obviously, tough break on Wednesday. And with that, it was going to make for a really interesting game on Thursday because you had a situation where you basically burned your entire bullpen. Multiple guys had thrown back-to-back days, and with no off day leading into a next series, like you needed Michael Walker to give you a lot of length because I think the only guy left in the bullpen was Beck Way that had not thrown since Sunday. So you're hoping you really don't have to go to any of your high leverage guys. You're really hoping you can save them for the weekend and go there. And you're hoping that Michael Walker can get you in the 7th. He did. It was not his best game. He scatters 4 runs, gives up 1 in each of the first 3 innings. Scatters 9 hits, but he kept them in the game and he didn't let it blow up on them. And he still kept the Royals in a game that they had an opportunity in. But they couldn't cash in. Not a lot of traffic in this game. They had an opportunity in the 4th. They got 2 in that inning, but they had bases loaded with nobody out once again. And Michael Massey grounds into a double play. They get one. Cameron Meisner makes his Royals debut. And then this was his second at bat, and he lines the ball into right field. Run scores, but that's all. And that's all that they end up getting. They have a couple more opportunities without a lot there. Only 4 left on base all game. And it was not like Kumar Rocker went out there and completely dominated. 4 2/3, 5 hits, 3 strikeouts. But Jacob Latz got you again for a second straight day. Probably one of the more underrated relievers in the league from the left side. But it was also a game, once again, Jac Caglianone, 2 hits. Hit 279 with an 808 OPS. And another hit off a lefty. He had 9 hits in this series. We'll go ahead and get right into him here in a minute. I think my conclusion coming away from this series is you see the good in that a guy like Jack is breaking out. You can see the things that still give you just maybe that little tiny glimmer of hope that they can figure it out, right? That the offense can figure it out, that there's a couple of times a week that the bullpen can get it done. Your starters are going to keep you in the game, and Jack and others are starting to hit. But the counter is you saw a lot of stuff in this series as well that make you go, yeah, there's a reason why they are where they're at. A little bit of unreliability in the bullpen for multiple areas. Not enough clutch hitting when it matters. You saw that on Wednesday. You saw that on Thursday to some degree. And just overall inconsistency. But a guy like Jack doing what he's doing does give you okay, it may not be this year, but going forward, this guy looks like he's figuring it out. Let's just go ahead and talk about him now. Based on what I've been watching for the last month or so, I think this is the breakout that we've been looking for, that we've been waiting for as Royals fans. Because we know how special the talent is and how high the ceiling might be. With the prodigious power, the ability to hit, with the feel to hit, the feel for the barrel, all of it. But it was so bad last year. It's just can we see anything? We can get any glimmer of hope, right? Can we see what him turning a corner looks like? And now for little under a month, we have that. About a 90 plate appearance sample now, where he's hitting 342 with a 419 on base and a 553 slug. That's what a 972 OPS, if my back of the napkin math is correct, and a 170 weighted runs created plus. Since May 15th, first game of that Cardinals series, that's what he has done. Now he's still striking out about 28% of the time, still maybe a little high, but he's walking 10.5%. So we're seeing a little bit of that now. The power outcomes are starting to make their way for him. He had 2 home runs in the game on Tuesday. One of those off a lefty. The hits against lefties are starting to come for him now. And it's not just a whole bunch of batted ball luck, right? Because that's one thing you kind of look for is okay, is he running up a crazy high BABIP? And it's 458. If it's 342, so maybe a little bit. But when you dive into some of the expected stuff, the expected batting average is still 321, and the expected slug's actually 581. And an expected batting average of 321 would still be about 100th percentile, because Bobby's around a 300 expected, and that's around 96 or 97. So you're still looking at a crazy. There isn't a ton of regression in here, I don't believe, based on what I've seen. The barrel percentage is 15%. That's in the upper 90s, right? A hard hit rate of 67.3 is bonkers. And this also doesn't include the game today, where he had 2 more hits. It would be, I don't know where the hard hit rate would be, but batting average would be up, flirting with 350. Weighted runs created plus still around the low 170s. For a significant stretch here. And a lot of it comes down to he's not hitting the ball on the ground as much anymore. It's a 34% ground ball rate during this stretch. Is that still maybe a little higher than you want it to be? Yes, but when you consider he had a 50% ground ball rate last year, overall on the season, he's dropped it down to a 40%. And in this stretch, it's even dropped down to 35. So he's starting to lift the ball more. The line drive rate has increased. We talk about that at like the end of April, that, he's starting to find more line drives now. He's using the pull side to the middle of the field when he needs to. He has no problem going the other way, but he's not like using it as a crutch. Against lefties, he loves using the left side of the field, just shoot balls to left, and it's been great. He is avoiding a lot of weak contact. It is very, very impressive what he is doing. And I think a lot of it is, and he talked about it. He did an interview on MLB Central this morning with Mark DeRosa, Lauren Shahadi, and Robert Flores. He asked him what he learned during this. And he said, I got too hyperfixated on the negative last year. And it just kind of spiraled. And it led to him hitting a $157 and wondering, is this guy a part of that? Had some people wondering, is he a part of the future? Did we maybe overvalue him? But going through that, and it's so crazy to say because seeing a guy fail like that at the big league level, especially when they probably never failed like that in their life, at this, you wonder what it's going to do to him. And instead of him sitting back and going, I'll figure it out. I've hit everywhere. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. He sat back and said, I got to fix some stuff. And he did. And I think that says so much about him, not only as a player, but as a person, to have that self-awareness, that ability to sit back and go, something's not going right now. And what can I do to fix it? And it was all between the ears because the tools are there. Like there's not a lot that he needs to figure out from like just the on-field stuff. It is translating the mental to the physical. And I believe fully what he went through last year was the best thing that could have happened for his career because it showed him what you did in high school, what you did in Little League, what you did in high school, what you did in college, what you did in some of the minor leagues is not going to translate to the big leagues. You've got to make some changes to your approach. You cannot be as swing happy. You've got to find a way to lift the ball. You can't hit so many balls on the ground. You have to be more selective, work more counts, take more walks. And he's done those things. I think it is an incredible maturation of a player is what we're witnessing. And I think it's why this breakout that he has had feels legitimate and not like a flash in the pan. Well, one of the things we've kind of been waiting on with Jac is the platoon stuff. And people have their opinions about those things and how that is handled and all of that. I get it. But one thing I wanted to see was how do they progress him against left-handed pitching? Because I do think eventually he is a guy that can be like the way they treat Vinny. I don't care if there's a lefty on the mound. We're going to have you out there. We need your bat. And so far this year, and a lot of it has come in this stretch where he has hit the ball against lefties a heck of a lot better and showed some power outcomes against lefties as well. On the season, not including today, again, another hit against a lefty, it is a 288, 323, 492 against lefties with a 123 weighted runs created plus. Against righties, 269, 358, 441. It's about a 15-point difference in OPS, actually better against lefties. And it's also a 123 weighted runs created plus. Now, the key differences in that, because it's you end up getting to the same value, 123. How does he do it? He walks significantly more against righties. He walks 11.5% of his plate appearances against righties. Against lefties, he walks 1.6% of the time. That's the thing he has to work on. That is still the thing that he needs to improve. But he slugs against lefties. The ISO is higher. The slug is obviously higher by about 50 points. He strikes out a little more against lefties, but you can come to expect that even for the best platoon, guys that are, not platooned and you're still hitting left on left. That still happens, certainly. But we're seeing him start to figure it out against lefties. And now, again, still some to work on. Does this mean he's totally platoon proof and he's not going to have times where he's on the, off the bench against lefties? Like when they face Tarek Skubal, is he probably going to be on the bench? Yeah. Like Vinny may be the only guy that faces Skubal. They may put Jack in there and tell Vinny, maybe he needs to go sit on the bench. But it is showing the data is there. And for the folks that crack their jokes, whether they act, or maybe maybe they actually believe it, which would be even crazier. Of the well, I guess he did too good today. I guess they're just going to bench him tomorrow. Or they're just going to bench him against lefties because the data says so. Well, that belies the actual data that exists, right? The data actually shows he can hit left-handed pitching, and they have obviously more advanced stuff, but I'm sure that it reflects the same. So we're going to see Jack platoon less. We're going to see Jac Caglianone in the lineup almost every day moving forward, as we should. And he's been great in the month of June. After a month of May where he really struggled. It was a 638 OPS in June, or in May. It was 74 weighted runs created plus so far in the month of June. Sitting 538, 625, 962. He is absolutely on fire. And it was about this time in Bobby Witt Jr.'s second year that he started to figure it out after people had questions about his talent and ability. But once the weather started to warm up, he started to figure it out. All of a sudden, hey, turns out the guy that they drafted in the first round, top 10, pretty damn good. I think that's what we're seeing with Jack as well. A couple relievers, guys that in the second week of April, we were all kind of sitting around going, okay, how long are they going to go with these guys? At what point do they just cut bait? Now, this is when we were unsure what Estevez was going to be. We felt pretty good about Ursig. Daniel Lynch hadn't quite earned that trust yet. But John Schreiber and Alex Lang were two guys that really struggled out the gate. Had a really, really hard time. They just kept giving up runs, and Schreiber had a little bit of high leverage. Lang, they kind of worked into it. But since April 19th for John Schreiber, so that is 20 and 2/3 innings. It's like 22 or 23 games. He has a 1.31 ERA. Now the expected's 3.5, so gonna come back a little bit, but he's pitching really well lately. The ground ball rate is back up to around 45% in this stretch, and there was in those first couple of weeks, it was a lot of line drives, a lot of home runs. He started giving up a little more home runs. He gave up 10 in 2025 after only giving up 1 in 2024. So you started to see, being a sinker, slider heavy guy that relies on ground balls to get out of innings predominantly, when they start elevating it, that's when I start getting concerned for those types of guys. And that's what we were seeing. But he's got the ground ball rate back up. The left on base percentage is 92.6%. That is insane. 14 strikeouts in these 20 and 2/3, and the strikeouts have really ticked up for him in his last few outings since let's go with this. Since the calendar flipped to June, on June 1st. That is 6 strikeouts to 1 walk. And the 1 walk came in that first appearance against the Reds. But what we're also seeing from Schreiber is the velocity come back. And that was something he didn't have at the beginning of the year either. It was 91, 92, kind of like what we saw in 2024 where the velocity wasn't quite there. And then last year, he had a stretch where the velocity was 94, 95. Like, oh, different John Schreiber. The other night, he was 96 to 97. It was like 95 to 96, and he popped the 97, which I don't think I've ever seen a 97 from John Schreiber in a Royals uniform. So he's pitching well. And what this might allow is for the Royals to be able to trade him at the deadline and get something for him. Guys like him are valuable. Those middle relief guys that can come in and get you a ground ball, show you a different slot. It's why they traded David Sandlin for him. And he ended up, in this situation. And it's good to see for this bullpen because they need it right now badly. Because Lucas Erceg is a shell of himself. And they can't throw Daniel Lynch every day. They can't throw Alex Lang every day. Nick Mears is on the shelf. Steven Cruz has looked better in the last couple of outings, but still not quite into where I can believe, that's an everyday guy. That's a guy that you can trust at the back end of a game. Not there yet, but I think the stuff is. I don't think the pitcher himself is. But this has been good to see for John Schreiber. And if he continues like this, they may be able to strike while the iron's hot and get a little something for him. It's not going to be anything crazy. Probably a lotto ticket high A guy, but who knows? Again, teams, this may be a seller's market, especially in the American League, based on how terrible the American League is. I talked about Alex Lang quite a bit on Sunday after he moved into that closer's role. And he converted his first 4 saves. Rough outing yesterday, but listen, it happens to everybody. And he had been on a really, really good stretch of not giving up runs. It was his first earned run he had given up since May 18th. So, it's going to happen. But I think this is, as we talked about, this is the Jimi Hendrix poster to the hole in the wall that is the Royals bullpen, to continue the Great Divide analogy. I do not believe this is a permanent solution that Alex Lang is just the closer. For now, it might be because he has the hot hand and clearly has a penchant for that 9th inning. Just an ability to win a game and get out of there. In that Cincinnati series, so since moving to the closer's role, in those 4 save opportunities, he has, 7 strikeouts in 4 appearances. He's got, the walks are always going to be a thing for him, even when he was really good a couple of years ago with the Tigers pre-injury. He still walked a lot of guys, so it's just going to be part of it for him. You just have to hope the strikeouts stay to sort of balance it out. And for now, they have. And it's been in that stretch, really since, again, the beginning of April, he had a really rough outing against the Orioles. You have 4 runs late in the game. And it was like, okay, it's a $1 million deal. There's no, the Royals can move on from this. And instead, they stick with him. Glad they did. And since then, it's a 2.11 ERA and a 3.39 FIP. Ground ball rates, 47%. Heavy sinker guy, throws hard. Left on base percentage is 79% during the time, which is a more not as insane number as 92% like John Schreiber has right now. But he's figuring it out. I think one thing maybe we underestimated a little bit was just time away from the big leagues. He threw 19 innings in 2 years in the big leagues. So, threw a little bit in AAA last year for the Tigers. So there probably was an element of getting back into it, getting back into the big leagues and reminding himself how to get big league hitters out, how to handle these sorts of things. And now that he's in a little more of that situation, you see the results come with it, where he has 4 saves and 4 opportunities. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm cool with them riding the hot hand for now. They talked about it being a by committee thing. I think by committee is just another way to say we're going to ride the hot hand and see how long it goes before we make another move. And the second that Alex Lang has a couple tough outings, I think we see Steven Cruz get an opportunity, or Daniel Lynch, or I don't think it can be Lucas Erceg. Matt Strahm may get an opportunity or 2, but with him, I don't even know right now. And he's getting hit around a little bit too. But again, His entire bullpen might be the Jimi Hendrix poster, right? Like, it's just a whole bunch of them just around a massive hole that goes through both sets of walls, and the studs are out. But for now, they've seemed to have at least a temporary solve on it, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm glad, and for good for Alex Lang too. Like, he's a local guy, went to Lee Summit West, to be able to save games for his hometown team that he grew up with. Like, I imagine there's a little extra to it for him. And that's not a reason to keep a guy around, not a reason to give him the ninth inning just because he's a local guy. But I think it is part of his story, right? And it's part of his story with this team. And he does have control beyond this year. I will be curious how they decide to handle that. And we'll see as we go forward. Before we get out of here, got a series against the Houston Astros coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Kauffman Stadium. Weather permitting, think the weather might be kind of dicey on Saturday. I'm planning to be out at Kauffman that day, so I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be able to get a game in. Hoping so. Your pitching matchups this weekend. It's going to be Luinder Avila on Friday against Tatsuya Imai, the Japanese pitcher that came over this past year. He's 3-3 with a 5.24 ERA. Luinder's thrown the ball really well his last couple of outings. And he's been given the opportunity to start. And so this is a bit of an extended tryout for him as Bubic is just finished a rehab assignment. It didn't go well from a results standpoint, and Cole Reagans is back to throwing. So we'll see what they end up with there. On Saturday, 6:10 first pitch, it'll be Noah Cameron against Bo Burrows, who is 3-8 with a 5.77 ERA. And then on Sunday, it will be a 1:10 first pitch. It'll be Spencer Arrighetti against Stephen Kolek. The Astros are playing better, though they are still not a great team. So once again, you have an opportunity to try and take a series and keep yourself. I mean, you're below water, but hopefully you can gasp for air, for a little bit. Or if you want to go back to the boxing analogy, like the refs counting and close to stopping the fight, but you may be able to stave it off for another week if you're able to go out and win this series. And Arrighetti is 7-1 with a 2.21 ERA. I believe I saw somewhere that he is one of the luckiest pitchers in the league from like an expected stuff perspective. I want to take a look at this. Yeah, it is a 2.21 ERA and a 4.76 expected. He walks a lot of guys, doesn't get a lot of chase or swing and miss. This may actually maybe play into the Royals' favor, especially on Sunday, because if he's going to be in the zone, we'll see. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of One Royal Way. We will talk to you guys on Saturday night. I will be out at Kauffman Stadium, so we'll do a live post-game show from there. It'll be a late one because it's a 6:10 first pitch, so expect around between 9:30 and 10 to get going there. And we'll talk to you all then, and we'll have a more normal One Royal Way schedule coming at you next week as well. So we'll talk soon. Have a good one, everybody, and take care.